The part I'm going to read to you today comes not long after Judith awakens the whole house in the middle of the night with her screams of terror, and she blames it on a nightmare, of course. And she's been really creeped out by her cousin Charles lately. She doesn't know exactly how to act around him. But on this night, she and her family spend a very pleasant evening at dinner. They joke around, laugh, have a good time, and she's starting maybe to suspect that maybe it's all just in her head, that she, shouldn't be bothered by Charles, and that she thinks her uncle is really beginning to love having her in the house. And the part begins with Judith going upstairs to her room after everyone has decided to go to bed. I wondered if perhaps I had been wrong in all things about my family. But once in my room, an uneasiness overtook me, and I felt chilly despite the warmth of the evening. I tried sitting by the window to recapture the pleasant feeling I had felt in the garden that afternoon, and yet I found myself turning repeatedly to look over my shoulder, sensing an unseen presence in the room. I do not know how I knew, for I heard nothing remarkable, felt no touch. I shall bathe myself, I thought. Perhaps that will calm me. But this time, as I turned to get up, I gasped in horror, and my breath stopped. For there on my rug lay a hand, a human hand, a girl's right hand, detached from arm and body. I slid back on the window seat until I was pressed against the glass, my hands covering my mouth. I tried to scream, but my breath was gone and no sound issued from my throat. I could only stare at the ghastly spectacle, the limp, white fingers, the delicate wrist, and then the jagged stump on which dried blood was visible, the broken connection of bone and muscle and skin. More terrible still, the fingers suddenly began to move, the palm to lift until it was standing upright like some strange primordial creature. Drawing my feet up beside me, I sat choking, shaking, as the fingers scrabbled swiftly along the floor and the hand disappeared into the darkness beneath my bed. I made no move, uttered no sound, my body frozen to the chair. Should I run for the door? I wondered. I imagined myself rushing downstairs to the parlor with an account of what I had just seen. Who would believe me? And what lay under the bed? The very body of the girl, perhaps? My teeth were chattering so violently that I had to hold my jaws to stop them. As the minutes went by and nothing happened, I knew that I must gain courage enough to look under the bed itself before I summoned my uncle and Mrs. Hastings. If the corpse be there, I must warn them, for surely the shock, if it was close to claiming my sanity, might cost those two dear people their lives. I sat watching the floor, waiting for the hand to show itself again. There was no noise, no movement. Breathing rapidly, a trickle of perspiration running down the middle of my back. Despite my chill, I slowly leaned down and picked up a corner of the bedspread, then bent over until I could see beneath the bed frame. It was dark under the bed, and I stared into the blackness, looking for any sign of white fingers, but saw nothing more. What should I do? Whom should I tell? If it was indeed a ghostly hand belonging to Jade Green, my uncle would ask, "You didn't bring anything green to the house, did you?" I would have to admit my guilt, and would be turned out of his house, deservedly so. I was trapped. After this frightening incident, Judith is absolutely certain that the ghost of Jade Green is haunting her and the house, and all because she brought that single green picture frame with her. Judith is torn. She doesn't know if she should confess because she's afraid that if she does, one, people will think she's crazy and put her in an asylum, and two, her uncle might kick her out of the house for disobeying him. She can't hide it for long, however, because her behavior begins to become strange, and people begin to suspect that she's hiding something. Her Uncle Jeffrey begins to suspect, Mrs. Hastings, the cook, Zeke, her boyfriend, and even her creepy Uncle Charles, Cousin Charles. And so, if you want to find out who Jade Green really was, how she died, if this is indeed her ghost haunting the house, if this ghost is threatening, menacing, or perhaps kind, and why Cousin Charles is so creepy, you need to read the book Jade Green. Don't read it at night. Don't read it by yourself. And when you finish it, tell me about it on the blog, and I will see you next week. Bye.